These guys would come in 3, 4, 5 times a day. It blew my mind. And there were some guys that I was like, listen, I love you, man. Every time you come in, we're like, hey, man, what's up? We're just chit-chat, hanging around like my buddy. But I'm like, why the hell are you in here 5 times a day? They are wasting thousands of dollars.
Welcome to the Royal Flush Podcast. I'm Kyle McShane, the social media manager here at Royal Flush. The goal of this podcast is to give you a behind-the-scenes look and show you the ins and outs of our ever-growing epoxy pipelining business. In this episode, John and I sit down and talk about inefficiencies and what John likes to call time suckers in service-based industries. We hope you can take something of value from this week's episode, whether it's in business or your own day-to-day life. So stay tuned. We appreciate you listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Enjoy this week's episode.
Welcome back, everybody. Royal Flush Podcast. I'm sitting down with my favorite producer, social media extraordinaire, Kyle. Kyle, welcome back to the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're going to cover a topic that I think is fascinating when you step back and think about it, and that is efficiency in our day-to-day business, in the business day-to-day of other people that are like us in the service industry, or really anything that you do. And I want to talk about how maybe those efficiencies are going to equate to time, money, productivity that we can ultimately always usually kind of round back to dollars and cents. And really what I'm talking about is on a day-to-day basis, areas that we are wasting time and ultimately wasting money that we probably don't think about or don't look at on a day-to-day basis. And for us, what that really means is how can we maximize our efficiency, right? And what I'm really talking about is being prepared for the next day and maximizing the amount of time we have in a day with our workers to be productive. And so there's really 3 or 4 categories that when I think of productivity and money and efficiency that kind of encompass that. And the first one is being prepared for the next day. So, if you have a service business or any type of business that you do, for us, we try our best, and it's really important, to be fully set up for the next day. So what that looks like here at Royal Flush is if we have a lining project for tomorrow, we want to go through our checklist and make sure our trucks and our vans and our people are fully equipped on what the job's going to entail, what we need, the equipment, the supplies, anything out of the ordinary, and that truck is loaded, ready to go. So the next morning, we start at 7:30 most of the time. When the guys come in, we come in, we say hello, everything, and we hop in the truck and we go. As you can imagine, I'm sure maybe you can tell me a story of what you think happens. What do you think most guys or crews, for a roofer, a contractor, a window installer, maybe an electrician, or even an office like ours, what do you think a morning routine is normally like?
I would say, I'd say probably, not exactly something to the effect of having everything ready.
Not
for
the most
day.
efficient,
you know what
right?
I mean? Because we probably wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't a situation like that. So probably, if I were to guess, in my limited experience and knowledge, show up that day, and whatever's on the docket for that day, that's when you start preparing for it.
Yep, exactly. And we even do that internally on the office end here, right? You come in, I come in, we're talking, well, what'd you do this weekend? Did you watch the game? Kyle, what bar did you go out? Did you talk to any nice ladies? We're talking to Joe about what he did, and we're easing into the day, right? That's how a lot of things do that. But when we're our guys in the field and we're talking about jobs and efficiency, that time is money, right? And so if we can eliminate with our crew and be efficient and communicate with the customer, hey, we get to the shop at 7. We're out of the door at 7:45. It's 45 minutes to you. We're going to be there at 8:30. We're going to unload the trucks. We're going to start getting our equipment set. We're going to start working at 8:45. And it's like boom, 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 boom. Whereas if we showed up today and we're like, oh, what are we doing? It might take an hour or an hour and a half to get everything loaded up, or a checklist. You might forget something. We got to brief the job. That's a huge money waster, right? When we get down to the dollars and cents, we want to maximize the production of our people. They are very valuable. They're very expensive. And the more that we ensure that they can produce, the better the company's going to be. And my mindset always is, let's be ready to go for the day. Let's get to the job on time early. Let's get it finished. and let's go home early, right? So if we wrap up everything, I'd rather spend the time the day before, 45 minutes to an hour, and the more you do this, the better you get at it, the more efficient you get at setting up the next day. The first time you do it takes an hour, then it takes 45 minutes. These guys can set up for the next day in 15 minutes. I know I need this, this, and this. We're triple checking A, B, and C. We're ready to go. And you do the job, and because we were so efficient and you left early on time and you were ready to go, you finish the day at 2, you come back, you now prep for the next day. It takes 15 minutes, you're good to go. Go home at 2:15. Otherwise, you might not finish the job till 4 or 5. You get back here, you dilly down. It's 6 o'clock when you get home. So we're being efficient, maximizing our time, maximizing the money, and more importantly, not wasting and dilly-dallying what's going on. And so, in our opinion, any small business, any trade service business really should be preparing for the next day. That works for us. Preparing for the next day, you end up forgetting way less things. You end up being sharper because you don't realize it, whether you're thinking about it subconsciously or not. You're actually going over what you need to do the next day. You know, we're talking about something, and Kyle, well, we're going to do this. We're going to line this feet. We're going to dig a pit. Blah blah blah. You're like, okay, John, I'm ready to go. When you come in the morning, your brains already knows what we need to do. You're already actually thinking about the job subliminally. So everybody comes a little more efficient, a little more effective, a little more in tune, and we get in and we get out of the door, and we are ready to go. So tagging on to being prepared, in my opinion, there's 3 or 4 what I call pitfalls, trapdoors, dead ends throughout the day of a contracting business or a small business that really suck time and money. And we usually all do them without even really thinking about it. And so number 1 for me is the gas station, right? And so, I'm sure you has your own little routine, Kyle. When do you get gas in your car? Is it usually on the way to work, on the way home from work, on weekends? Like, when do you get gas?
I'd say, usually in the afternoon, nighttime, on my
Okay.
way home from work, whether I'm stopping at the grocery store or anything like that. But if I'm lazy and I don't plan ahead, then something like that, I'll have to rush to stop at the gas station on my way to work. So, and I feel like something like that translates into exactly what you're
Exactly.
get
So, we have large-scale trucks and trailers and generators and air compressors and multiple vehicles, right? So to fill up all of our vehicles at one time is probably 150 gallons of fuel, okay? If one of our trucks goes to the gas station, it is 30 minutes. I know that sounds crazy, but to get our guys in the vehicles, to drive to the gas station, which is a mile away, to fill everything up, for them to drive back, it's 30 minutes. Now, if I have 1 or 2 guys in there, we're not only talking the cost of the fuel, which is what it is, but the time of those guys, they are not being productive, right? And so you do 30 minutes with 1 truck. You've got 4 trucks. You do that 3 times a week. We're talking like 6-7 hours throughout the week. That is just poof, gone. You now have paid your labor, because we're going to pay them anyway, but they're not being productive. Being at the gas station is a massive waste of production.
And I think I think you kind of touched on that the other day, and it's even if it's a half hour a day, which might seem silly, like that's a lunch break or something.
Yep.
That's 6% of your day,
Yep.
which doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but there's so many more efficient, productive things that could be done
Yes.
in that half hour that adds up to 2-3 hours a week right there.
Yep. So the same, what we do, we actually have a unique scenario where we put fuel tanks on one of our trucks to buy fuel in volume. This can hold 200 gallons of gasoline and 100 gallons of diesel, I'm pretty sure. And so we made that investment. So this way, 1 truck was going to buy fuel, and that fuel could fuel all the trucks for the week at one time. And additionally, that truck is buying that fuel on off hours. That's Mark's vehicle. He uses it to get back and forth to work and during work. He's purchasing it off hours. So now that time is not being consumed by anything with Royal Flush. It's right down the street from his house. It's very convenient. He can get it. It's no big deal. Then we're coming back and we're filling up our vehicles off of that truck. It takes 3 minutes now to fill up a truck, opposed to a half an hour. And so you don't get any real discount break by buying the fuel, filling up 200 gallons, the price of the price. But doing that on a weekly basis, we are probably saving thousands of dollars in production time over the course of weeks and months in efficiency for our guys. Also, it's one less thing that our guys really ever think about. Our guys do not think about the fuel in the trucks, for better or worse. There's been times that we've been pretty close to E, but they do not think about it. We have bred that those trucks will be full. You don't need to worry about it. Your job is to be efficient in what you do and be great at what you do and go out and do the job. Not stop and get gas. It is a huge, massive time suck. So our recommendation to anybody out there, maybe if they feel they're getting put into this little rut, try getting fuel on your way home before work, after work, right? Try getting fuel at the end of the day and not during your normal business hours, because that's the time that we're set aside to make money, right? Who wants to be working at 7 o'clock at night? Nobody. So if you could have finished your day at 6:30 because you went and got fuel the day before, and you get home half an hour early to your family or your wife or your kids or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you're going to be that much happier. As simple as it sounds, like these are all little small things that in the ethos of a day or a week or a month, you can't even really quantify. But when you sit down and think about it, half an hour in the morning at 7:30 at the gas station 3 times a week, that totals up to an hour and a half. I bet you your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or kids would really love the hour and a half of your time.
100%.
And you can be making money during the hour and a half of time. Or you could be finishing an hour and a half early every day, right? So these are all things that you just like move around when you do it. Makes a huge, huge impact. The next thing is lunch, right? Stopping for lunch is, again, another huge, huge time suck on a job. We're going to usually pay have a formal lunch break or not, however your organization does it, but not only the money associated with spending lunch, right? As you know, it's not a $5 footlong anymore. You go and get lunch, it's a minimum of $10 to $12 anywhere you go, whether it's fast food, a sandwich shop, it's $10, $12, $15 now. So you do that 5 times, you're talking $50 to $100 a week, number one. So money out of your pocket for your employees. But number two, that half-hour lunch break just turned into 45 minutes or an hour because they're going to drive there. Now, Kyle, we like Jersey Mike's. What's it like getting a sandwich at Jersey Mike's at noontime? How long does it take?
Jersey Mike's on Route 6. You have to put an order ahead in.
You have to.
It's brutal.
You will wait in there for 35 minutes to get your sandwich.
I think it was within the first couple months I started here, so I wasn't very familiar with, you guys as much as I am now. And I walked in, I made the mistake of not ordering ahead. I walked in, and there's a line of like 6, 7 people. It took me almost 45 minutes just to get the sandwich.
Yeah.
And I was like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, they think I'm doing stuff off on the side, like I'm wasting time. But something like that. If a company takes a lunch break or employees take lunch breaks and it takes something like 45 minutes,
Yep.
and then you come back, you're eating, all of a sudden you look up, and it's been an hour and a half.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep. And then that job is not going to get finished at 2 or 3 o'clock. It's going to finish at 4 or 5 o'clock. And everybody's day gets a little more frustrating and a little less happy and a little more tired, which rolls into the next day and the next day and the next day. And again, it's really, really simple. But if you can encourage your guys to either work through lunch, have a snack while they're working, or if you're on a job site working, bring your lunch. It can save your guys money. Maybe doing a little incentive program for people, like, hey, you bring your lunch, we'll do a little something for you. Every day you bring your lunch, at the end of the week we'll buy you lunch, right?
Golden stars.
Something, anything to do that. So you're saving your people money,
Yeah.
but also you're being more efficient in what you do. My favorite time sucker is the supply house, and what I mean by that is we all know contractors that go back and forth to their vendor, their supplier, Home Depot, 15 times a day. It is mind-boggling. So my story, I've told you in the past, I used to work for the Sherwin-Williams Paint Company. It was a great job. I worked there for 18 years. I had a great relationship with a lot of different types of professional painters. And there's guys that you really, really like that were fantastic, and you make this personal connection and relationship with, and you learn about their family. These guys are awesome. These guys would come in 3, 4, 5 times a day. And it blew my mind. And there were some guys that I was like, listen, Bobby, I love you, man. Every time you come in, we're like, hey, man, what's up? We're just chit-chat, hanging around like my buddy. But I'm like, why the hell are you in here 5 times a day? You come in every morning, and we all know this, guys. Anybody who does any sort of construction and you got a supply house or a place that you go and you built up a relationship, you see the same guys at the same time every day, right? And if you think about it, that's for a very particular reason. If I'm going to go out on a limb, I'm going to say those guys are older, okay? They're 40s, 50s, or 60s. They're not younger. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they probably have a very limited crew. It's them and another guy, them and 2 guys at the most. If not, they work by themselves. I'm going to say they're very, very happy and content, which is a great place to be. They are probably not trying to grow their business. Maybe they've been a painter for 15, 20 years. Maybe they're a roofer. Maybe they're a carpenter and it's a hardware store, but they are super happy, right? They've got their core business. Days are not stressful. They're going about their day. Everything's right. Everything's great. No stress. They're not growing their business. If they are in that store multiple times a day, they are wasting thousands of dollars. So I can only give you my professional opinion on the paint analogy I have. And so the guy would come in every morning at 7:30 and buy 2 gallons of paint. And he'd come back at noontime and buy another gallon of paint because he didn't have enough. And he'd come back at the end of the day and say, I need 1 more gallon for paint for trim. And what I say is that I used to say, like, you're a professional painter. This is what you do. You don't have any other job. You are a professional. 99% of the ceilings you're going to paint are white. A primer can be universally used on almost any surface. You buy this primer from me all the time. Most of the trim you're painting nowadays is white. You're going to pick out the colors per the homeowner. Why are you coming in the morning and buying 2 gallons of ceiling paint and coming back in the afternoon and say, I need a third? Why are you not buying in bulk, stocking it in your van, at your house or your basement, probably getting a volume discount based on the bulk that you buy, and waking up and just take inventory from what you have? Why are you not buying 100 gallons of ceiling paint a year and saying, I'm doing Susie's house, I think it might need 6, let me take 10 from my basement and put it in my van in case I need it, or my shop or my office, whatever you're operating out of. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. And whatever I need, I'm going to take 2 or 3 more so I don't run out, because going back to this paint store, and this analogy, is a half an hour to 45 minutes every single time. Because we're going to come in, we're going to shoot the shit.
Yeah.
And he's going to relax. It is such an unbelievable waste of time. And, 9/10 of the people that I dealt with couldn't wrap their head around buying bulk quantity, having an inventory of what they used, and just picking it from it as they needed. They were so small-minded and so comfortable and set what they did. They just wanted to come in every day and buy what they needed at that moment. We're not even talking for the whole, they won't even buy what they need for the whole day. Literally so mesmerized and blinders on that. Like, oh, I'm going to paint a ceiling first. Let me get the paint for the ceiling. Sure as shit, you come back 2 hours later. I forgot to get the wall paint. You know what? I didn't have any rollers today. You're a professional painter. You don't have any roller covers? What is going on right now? How do you not have 100 of those ready to go at any time? So going to the supply house, we all know what it's like going to Home Depot. You cannot walk in Home Depot without spending $100 on anything, minimum, and it's an hour. It's an hour of your time. Home Depot is the biggest time suck for any construction business in the world. The more time you can eliminate stepping foot in your supply house, in a Home Depot, at a roofing contractor, at a plumbing supply house, at a paint store, the better off you'll be. And my recommendation is to sit down and work with that vendor who you built this great relationship with, like I did with the guys in the paint store, and say, listen, I want to buy in bulk. Can I get a bulk discount? I guarantee you they're going to offer some sort of discount, whether it's 2%, 5%, 10%, who knows, whatever your industry is like. I guarantee you, Timmy behind the counter, who you love and built this killer relationship with, is more than glad to say, if you want to buy 50 of them, I'll give you a better price. Totally cool. And stock them, again, at your house, your basement, whatever. So for us in the plumbing world, when we were plumbing, 10, 15 years ago, Jim would buy inventory of all the fittings that he needed. So again, he's a professional plumber. He knows he's going to use these. Now, if I buy 10 half-inch copper elbows, I'm not going to use them all for the job, but I need to have them readily available, because I can't go into a house and do an inventory of I need 1 of these, 3 of these, 6 of these, 4 of those, and then go run to the plumbing supply house and get them. That makes absolutely no sense. And now what you did is you turned that job that should have been an hour into 3. And so really what you're doing is you're only allowing yourself to do 2 jobs in a day, 2 3-hour jobs in 6 hours, when I could do 5 1-hour jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it equates to that. It equates to the efficiency, the money, and the time. And if you bought in bulk, and people are like, oh, well, I'm paying for it all up front, you're still billing the customer for it. Right, Kyle? What do I like to say about the supplies that we buy? Who pays for the supplies? Who pays for all?
The customer.
The customer pays for the material.
Quoted in, is that the term
Yep.
you use?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It's all part of the quote.
we as the business owner in pipelining and what we do in our old plumbing, I don't pay for any of the materials we use. The customer pays for the materials, right? It should be all factored in. If you're not charging the customer for the materials, you're doing something wrong.
I mean, and not to mention if you're, like you said, buying in bulk, if you can, swing a bulk discount, not only are you saving money on that, but you're also, if you were to guesstimate, how long did those guys, when you worked at the paint store, how long would they come in and just shoot the shit for and kind of look around for what they need?
Oh, yeah. But, that was 10 to 15 minutes of the 30-minute interaction was shooting the shit.
Yeah. So you're talking an hour and a half a day, kind of like we were talking about earlier. That adds up 7 hours a week.
Yep.
I like the phrase, you leverage time to gain money, and then you leverage money to gain time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not leveraging that time and you're wasting the 7-8 hours a week,
Yep.
something like that, where you could be totally planned out, you have your supplies where you're going to get into that day. I don't need to stop at Sherwin-Williams today.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's 7 or 8 hours. You could either be making money, or I think you touched on this the other day. Is you could go home to you can go home to your wife and kids,
Be with your family and do the things that you love. Hopefully, you love what you do, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you love spending time with your significant other, your kids, your mom, your uncle, golfing, whatever. You have more time. You don't realize you'll have way more time to do the things that you enjoy if you just added up how many times you went to Home Depot. It's absolutely crazy. And so it goes to the efficiency, the time, and the money. And so my ask is for anybody listening to this, and if you see yourself falling into these traps, try to get yourself out of that. Try not to go. My recommendation would be, my challenge to anybody who might feel that they're falling into this. It's 2023. You realistically should never, ever have to step foot in your supplier's store to get anything you need. Try to go 1 week without actually stepping foot where you buy your material from. And I bet you would realize that you can go about your business. You can still get everything you need without stepping foot. You can place the order, and you can say, I'm in a big rush. Can you leave it outside on the front step, put it on my account? I'm going to just come in, grab it, and go. If you really need to order something. I bet you they'll be like, okay. 9 out of 10 places you buy supplies from, especially if you build up a relationship, offer a delivery service nowadays. Right? You can buy most of your supplies through a third-party website. If you're a plumber, you go to fwweb.com, you can have them delivered. You can go to Amazon and buy certain supplies. You can have a roofer, I would hope, is getting their materials delivered because they're heavy.
Yeah.
You can plan ahead. So I guarantee you would be shocked to yourself that you can order everything you need, even if you're still ordering the day of type of deal, and not actually step foot and get what you need and be like, holy crap, I didn't actually spend a half an hour. And those half an hours from planning the night before, from going to the gas station, from getting lunch, not going to the supply house. So imagine if we did those all in one day. We went and got gas in the morning, 30 minutes. We had to go pick up some supplies, 30 minutes. Now we're up to an hour. It's noontime, we're hungry, we're going to go get lunch. That's 30 minutes. That's an hour and a half. What's my fourth one? I can't even think of right now.
It escaped me.
Anyway, you're talking an hour and a half, 2 hours a day that you're not actually doing any work. And again, my ask or challenge to people is, you don't even have to do any more work. You don't even have to be any more productive. Go home early.
Yeah, if there's nothing else going on for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Get your shit together. Have everything ready to go.
Yeah.
Go to the job early. Be ready to roll. You're going to be more efficient in the morning. Wrap it up. Go home and spend time with your family and friends. I think you would be amazed on what it can do for your business. So believe me, we are not magical. We are not expert at this. There's days where we're unorganized. There's days where we do not have our shit together. There's days where I want to be way more organized than we are. But that's what we try to do. We try to plan the day before. We try to get the fuel out of the way. We try not to be bogged down by food and lunch on a job. And we certainly as hell do not go hang out in the supply house. What's nice is you can. There's no plumbing supply store.
Yeah,
pipelining supply store down the street.
Such a niche industry.
We buy all of our stuff over the phone. It's shipped and delivered. And so I would tell you that as well. There's a lot of industries where there is no store down the street that you can go, and maybe you could take a little trick or thumb out of their toolbox that if a business can be efficient and run, buying a third-party material from Indonesia. Maybe you as your local contractor can do the same. And it's just comfort, right? Everybody gets comfortable. We're creatures of habit. We want to do the same thing every day. Our guys here say, I'm driving and my car just goes into Dunkin' Donuts, right?
Yeah.
It's on autopilot. It goes there, right? We are creatures of habit. We usually do the same thing in the morning. Our work day is the same. We're creatures of habit. And these habits, in our opinion, we've realized in a day-to-day construction service business, these are the habits that can really suck time and energy and money out of it. And I think if maybe you took a step back and you looked at it, there's ways that you can actually be making more money without really changing anything in your business and be way more efficient at what you do. And so that's my ask and my challenge to my fellow service workers or anybody in any business. Find ways that are chewing up your time. You can be way more efficient and be happier and probably make more money.
Definitely. And you mentioned taking a step back. It's almost one of those things where you're so in it day to day. If there's inefficiencies, you're so just
you don't even realize it.
You're fully thrown into that day, and it's just you don't even pick up on it. Where it's like it takes a lot of self-awareness to be able to step back and say, all right, when I do this, this, and this is probably what's causing a bulk of the empty time, I guess, in a day. You know what I mean? And it's that self-awareness to be able to say, all right, this is what's going on. This is how I nip it in the butt. If I can expedite or just take these out of my daily routine, it's you either get a more condensed productive day or more time to be productive.
Yeah, to do other things you want. Exactly. Anything else you want to add, Kyle?
Use your time efficiently. Be aware of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Good tip.
And that's all I got.
All right. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. There'll be many more internal episodes just like this, talking about topics that we try to do here at Royal Flush. Maybe we can give you some tips and hints. Hopefully you can give us tips and hints. If there's anything that you want to add, throw it in the comments, message us, subscribe, all those good things, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks a lot.